Hey everyone, 6 o'clock, Wednesday, April 7th, 2021. Happens to be my granddaughter Matilda's birthday today. She's 6 years old. And we just got done celebrating a little birthday party with her. I broke my very, very healthy diet and had myself a nice, delicious piece of Dairy Queen cake, made with some ice cream and some cookies and crumbles and vanilla topping. It was fantastic. While people are joining us, let me tell you a little bit what's coming up this week, and then we'll talk about what we're talking about. Tomorrow night at 6 o'clock on this Facebook page, Tony and Lisa are going to be doing Grace Time FaceTime. It's been a while since they've done a little bit of singing for us, and so we're going to bring them on back tomorrow night. They will do Grace Time FaceTime for us, 6 o'clock tomorrow night on this Facebook page. Saturday night at 5 o'clock, we will have our online worship service. And our theme this week, picking up from last week on doubt, is we're going to look at some of the fantastical stories in the Bible. And these are stories, we're going to look at 3 of the creation stories over the next 3 weeks. These are stories that tend to cause people to say, I'm not quite sure, I doubt it. Science seems to say something different. And so we're going to look at what the Bible is saying and how it complements what science says and the other way around. So this week, the fantastical story of the 24-hour period without a sun and a moon, and in the Bible, and why that's true and what the truth is for you. So that'll be Saturday night at 5 o'clock. That will be on Facebook and YouTube. And then Sunday morning, we are in worship now, in-house, 9 o'clock and 10:30. 9 o'clock and 10:30. The 9 o'clock service, as always, starts to fill up pretty quickly. 10:30 takes a little while longer. So if you'd like to join us in-house, we'd love to have you. We had about 475 people over the Easter weekend in the building. It was great. And everybody was socially distanced. Everybody was wearing their masks. Everybody was safe. And so if you're looking for a chance to come on back in and you're ready to do so, you can. But we'll always come to you online, and those online services are always available for you. Okay? So if you can't watch right away when we're on, you can watch a little bit later. Okay, so our Wednesday nights since January have been built around the theme, A Thinking Person's Guide to Faith. And the whole point of doing these is to help us as Christian people dig deeper into some of the biblical issues, some of the life issues that we face each and every day. And back in January, on January 6th, my first topic was going to be, why does God seem to be so vindictive? And we never got to it. We had the Capitol riot that day, and then the next week we talked about that, and we've just been diving into some really important stuff. And some Wednesday nights, the topics are a little lighter, and some Wednesday nights, like tonight, the topics are a little bit, I don't want to say heavier, but a little bit heavier. So we're going to pick up on the theme that we launched this weekend in worship about doubt. And sometimes, especially in Christian faith, in certain Christian circles, doubt is seen as a no-no, because to doubt God is to not have faith. And I'd like to suggest, as I did this weekend on the Easter message, that doubt can be the doorway to faith. So we set that up this past weekend. Tonight, what I want to do is talk about doubt from a little different perspective by asking the question, what is truth? So how do we, as Christian people, get at the truth in a world that seems to be fairly loosey-goosey with what truth is? So to get us started, I want to do a little truth exercise with you. I want to walk through the process of how we discern truth, okay? So maybe some of you saw this on the internet today on Facebook. All right, I'm holding something in my hand, okay, right here, in case you don't see it, right here. And what I'd like you to do, you don't have to write comments, but in your mind, I want you to tell me what this is or what you think this is. Okay? So, based on your observations so far, what do you think this is? Now, let me tease out a few things for you. Let me give you a few little insights. By the way, let me just say, to think out loud with you, some of you might see a glass. Some of you might see a plastic cup. Some of you might see water in here, lighter fluid, kerosene, vodka. So, based on what you see so far, what do you see? So let me see if we can tease this out for you a little bit. All right, here we go. Okay. Can you hear that? Does that give you a little bit more information? All right, how about this? Obviously, I would never drink anything poison. You just saw me drink it, so I think we could assume that this is not kerosene. It's not lighter fluid. Another thing, I don't drink alcohol. We don't have any alcohol in the house. So I think what you could do is you could cross off alcoholic beverages. It's not vodka. It's not, I don't know, white beer, clear beer. Does beer come clear? I don't know. But it's not alcohol. It's not even fizzy soda, okay, because you can't see any bubbles. All right? So you've had a couple hints. I've had a sip of this. So based on your best information, what do you think this is? So let me share the truth with you. I'm holding in my hands right now, I'm pointing at it, a recyclable paper cup with peppermint hot chocolate made with coconut milk. Let me say that again. I'm holding in my hand here a recyclable paper cup filled with piping hot chocolate with peppermint made in coconut milk. Now, I can tell, I know that I can't see you, but I can tell some of you aren't quite sure. So I want to prove to you that this is really peppermint hot chocolate. I'm going to go to the source of all truth, the internet, social media, and I'm going to prove to you what this is. Now, this is going to look backwards to you, but I will try to hold this up so you can see, all right? You see this? Up at the top here, it says Facebook. All right, we've got a profile. I've taken the profile off. I want to protect this person. There you see, right there. There you see it. And let me read for you what this says. It says, a delicious peppermint hot chocolate with coconut milk in a recyclable paper cup. Yum. And it even has a hashtag to prove that it's real. The hashtag says peppermint coconut hot chocolate. All right? So you know that that's true because it's on social media. Now, some of you may not quite believe me yet, so let me prove it one more time to you from a social media influencer. Okay, this will be backwards, but right at the top it says Facebook. Again, this is on a person's profile. I have taken this off. You can see who the person is and what this person is holding right here. Same thing that I was holding. Exact same thing, right? And here's what this social media influencer says. Nothing like a piping hot peppermint hot chocolate in a recyclable cup after a long day of fighting crime and evil. Social media influencer, CA. I think it's Captain America. And notice there's a hashtag. It says peppermint coconut hot chocolate. So there you have it. The proof that what I'm holding in my hand is a recyclable cup of peppermint hot chocolate made with coconut milk. And you can trust me on this because I made it myself. I'm telling you this, and it's backed up by social media. So it must be true. Unless it's not. Here's the point. Our relationship with the truth throughout the world over the last several decades has changed dramatically. An obvious cup of water or a glass of water in our new world is now a recyclable paper cup with hot chocolate, peppermint hot chocolate with coconut milk, because I say it is. And because I can back it up with social media. Let me change my page here. Truth today is no longer based in fact. It's rooted in opinion, particularly loud, emotive opinion. The new truth experts in our culture today, especially a social media culture, are not those people who do a lot of research and look at the evidence and present the facts. The purveyors of truth today are those who have a loud, emotive opinion backed up by a lot of social followers. There was a study done recently on one of the cable news networks looking at when their audience tunes in. Hardly anybody's tuning in during the daytime when the news anchors are reporting news. Where they get their traction is when the opinion hosts come on. Because today, the new truth is found not in facts, but in loud opinions. So if I say something loud enough, if I say it long enough, if I say it passionately enough, and I really believe it, and if I have enough social media followers who agree with me, then my opinion becomes truth. A glass of water becomes a recyclable paper cup filled with peppermint hot chocolate made out of coconut milk. Because truth is no longer rooted in fact, but in loud, passionate opinion. Another thing that has shifted our view of truth is we have personalized truth. So you'll often hear people talk about their truth. This is my truth. Or I'm really proud of her for standing up for her truth. Now there's something really good about that. What we're saying when we speak about our truth is really what we're saying is this is my experience of life. This is how I see things. This is my worldview. And so in some cases, that's my truth. But here's where that breaks down. I can argue passionately with you that my truth is that the moon is made of cheese. You can argue passionately with me that your truth is the moon is made out of marshmallow. The truth is, based on fact, the moon isn't cheese and it isn't marshmallow. It's made out of rocks and sand and whatever it's made out of. And yet I can argue all day long that it's made out of cheese and say that's my truth. You can argue all day long that it's made out of marshmallow, that's your truth. And we're both wrong. Because in the end, at least it used to be, if something's true, really true, if it's truth, then it's true for all of us. And then finally, another reason why we have lost our ability to really discern truth is that we've lost the understanding that truth can be nuanced. And that we may have a part of the truth or a shading of the truth. And because we don't have the whole truth, we can end up following a false path. We tend to think in terms of right and wrong in our culture. And because my little piece of truth is true, then you must be wrong, rather than understanding that there are shades to truth, and these shades should lead us into the bigger picture of truth. And we're not willing to do that. We tend to get stuck on the sound bites of truth. Let me give you an example. In answer to the question, what is God like? All right, what is God like? Now, there are a lot of different answers to that question, and some of them are actually destructive answers, rooted in an angry God, a condemning God. Now, when I was growing up, I believed that God loved me. But if you were to ask me what is the truth about God, I would say in some ways God is an angry God. He's angry at our sin, and he takes all of that anger out on Jesus. Now, there is some truth to that, right? We know in the Bible that God shows anger. But I only have a piece of it, a small slice of it. It's not the whole truth. That's meant to take me deeper into the truth. And as we go deeper into the truth of who God is, we discover that God's anger is not about heaping punishment on us. God's anger is about a broken heart, a wounded heart that comes out of a heart of grace and love. And every time we do things to hurt ourselves or hurt others, God's heart is wounded. And God cries out in pain, not to punish, but because God loves us so much and his heart breaks when we do things that break us. And so we have all of these issues going on with truth. We no longer trust facts, and that's evident through a lot of stuff that's been happening with COVID over the last year, even the election. We talk about our own personal truth, and which closes us off to what the truth might be, and then we only look at a part of the truth. And then that takes us down a rabbit trail rather than getting us deeper into the full truth. And it's causing all kinds of problems in our culture and in our country. And so this whole discussion about truth and about lies and about doubts, it's a pretty deep discussion. In fact, philosophers have been debating it for years and years and years. It goes back at least 2,000 years, right? When Pontius Pilate is standing before Jesus, he says, "What is truth?" But at a less complex level, the truth of the matter is that we're losing our nose for truth. Because 24/7 we are bombarded by opinion. Opinion, not facts, opinion. On cable news networks, Facebook, Instagram, blogs, podcasts. And that stuff keeps coming in. And because we hear it over and over and over again, and we don't take the time to verify it, we start to believe it. Now, this challenge with truth has been particularly troubling for the Christian church as of late. It always has been in many ways. There have always been these parts of Christianity that have not taken the time to ask hard questions and have gotten caught in heresy, gotten caught in conspiracies. But we're seeing a lot of it happen again today. Jesus says we're to love the Lord our God with our heart, soul, mind, and strength. But it does seem that the mind part of loving God is a muscle we're not exercising as much lately. Research is telling us, for example, that a significant number of Christian people in our country, these are Christian people, have fallen prey to conspiracy theories like QAnon. And in many ways, for some Christians, QAnon has replaced their Christianity, or QAnon has merged with Christianity. And so Christianity and QAnon are one and the same. Now, there's a book called Think Again, which I just finished reading, an excellent book. It's written by Adam Grant, and his whole contention is we'd be a lot smarter if we kind of came to terms with the stuff we don't know and kept asking questions. And he gives us some insights into how it is that we get sucked into conspiracy theories. And it goes something like this. People who tend to be drawn into conspiracy theories believe that the world should be predictable and that there should be control in the world, that everything should be ordered and make sense. And when we're thrown into chaos, as we have been over this last year, both in terms of COVID and our politics, we need something that will validate our belief that life is predictable, that we can control life, and that life is not random. It makes sense. We need something that validates our belief that good things happen to good people, bad things happen to bad people. And so when chaos happens, and when we see the wrong kinds of people winning, then we need something that will make sense of it all. How did that happen? And so rather than actually challenge that view of life, actually rather than asking the question, is it really true that life's predictable? Is it really true that good things happen to good people, bad things happen to bad people? Rather than challenging that view and thinking more deeply about it, we tend to grab onto conspiracy theories that will, even if they're bizarre, explain what's happening, why things are out of control. Because conspiracy theories give us a villain, and they give us something to do to fight against that villain so we feel like we're back in control. But a conspiracy theory needs more than just the theory. It needs like-minded people to start buying into it. Like-minded people who will get into a bubble and share that conspiracy over and over again. And the more they share it with each other, the more there seems to be people believing it, the more it validates the conspiracy theory for them. It's living in the bubble of the conspiracy theory. Because once again, truth isn't verified by facts, it's verified by loud, passionate opinion. If I say it long enough, if I say it loud enough, if I say it passionately enough, this glass of water becomes a recyclable paper cup of peppermint hot chocolate made with coconut milk. And pretty soon I can create a bubble of people who will believe that, and we'll have a vast conspiracy theory built around this lie. That's how conspiracy theories work. So Adam Grant goes on to give us an example of how this works. And I want you to imagine a circle as I talk through this, all right? So he's using the example of people who believe that the earth is flat, okay? So it starts out, wow, I just read the earth is flat. I got to check this out. Wow, look at all of these people who believe the earth is flat. I'm going to join some groups to learn more about this. Holy cow, these groups have all kinds of information to say that the world is flat, that the world is like a frisbee, rather than a sphere or a ball. You know what? My views are starting to aggravate my friends. My friends are angry at me for constantly saying the earth is flat. They're telling me I'm buying into a falsehood. I'm aggravating them. So that must mean I'm on to the truth. I'm on to something. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go deeper into this topic because they're making me defensive and I've got to be able to prove myself. So I'm going to go deeper and deeper into the topic of the flat earth. I'm going to find more and more stuff to back this up. I'm going to hang out with more and more people to back it up. And by the way, I'm going to start finding other friends to tell them because I've got some friends I think will believe this and love this. And then the whole circle starts over and over again. Think about racism, for example. The belief that black people are inferior to white people. And then how that circle begins to play itself out. There are other people who believe this. There are facts to back it up, biblical facts. We talked about this weeks ago, all right? The twisting of truth. And it just goes on and on. People are upset with me because I'm talking this way, and it just continues. Or think about the election we just had. The vote was stolen, all right? No evidence of that. The vote was stolen. Oh, look, there's some people who believe it is. Oh, look at these facts. All right, I'm agitating people because I'm talking about this. This must be the right thing. And it goes on and on and on. That's how we get sucked into conspiracies. Rather than looking at the truth, rather than digging for the real facts, we just start listening to other people who agree with us, and we get into a bubble and we get lost in falsehood. Here's a quote from Think Again. Psychologist George Kelly observed that our beliefs are like pairs of reality goggles. We use them to make sense of the world and navigate our surroundings. A threat to our opinions cracks our goggles, leaving our vision blurred. It's only natural to put up our guard in response. And Kelly noticed, now this is really important, listen to this. Kelly noticed that we become especially hostile when trying to defend opinions that we know deep down are false. Isn't that interesting? Let me read that one again. Kelly noticed that we become especially hostile when trying to defend opinions that we know deep down are false. Think racism. Think a stolen election. Rather than trying on a different pair of goggles, we become mental contortionists, twisting and turning until we find an angle of vision that keeps our current views intact. That's how we get sucked in. Sometimes deep into falsehood, sometimes just on the fringes of it. Now, Jesus, of course, says the truth sets us free. The truth protects us from this downward spiral into falsehood and conspiracy theories that create us versus them. The truth sets us free because the truth is the embodiment of love, grace, dignity, and hope. The challenges I've outlaid for you, though, is getting to the truth is pretty tough these days because we live in this highly emotive, opinion-driven, stay-in-our-bubble world. What Jesus wants to do is get us out of those bubbles and back in here to love the Lord our God with our heart, soul, minds, and strength. Nothing wrong with doing some good, deep thinking. So the key to discovering the truth, the key to getting to the truth is doubt. Doubt is the way forward to help us discover the truth. Doubt is the willingness to question what we currently think. Descartes is the one who said, I think, therefore I am. He also said doubt is the origin of wisdom. Doubt is the origin of wisdom. Doubt, as I said this weekend, is the doorway to truth or the doorway to Jesus. Because what doubt does is it opens up our curiosity. It opens up our brain cells. It gives us the courage to challenge our beliefs or the beliefs of others. And we may discover that in challenging them or thinking again about them, that we embrace them even more deeply. Or we may find it was just a part of the truth and we go deeper in the truth, or we may find out that they were completely nuts. But we have to be willing as followers of Jesus to use doubt to challenge the things that we see and embrace so that we can get ourselves to the truth. So here's what I want to do. I want to give you some doubt questions to think about, and I'm actually going to give you a lot of them. You're not going to have time to write them down. You're not going to get them all in your head. I will post them for you on this post. I will either put them in a comment or I will go in and edit and maybe put them at the top of this video. But somehow, in some way, I'm going to get these to you, all right? And if need be, I'll put it in a separate post on this Facebook page. But these are some questions, some doubt questions that we should be asking as we try to find the truth. Is it verifiable? Can it be tested? Is it verifiable? Can it be tested? Does this opinion align with the best of science? Do people I trust see it this way? Now, this can be kind of a tricky one because I may trust people in my bubble. So maybe what I need to do is ask the question, are there other people who see it differently than I do, but I trust them? And am I willing to take some time to listen to their viewpoint and see why it is, to really listen, not argue, but listen and see why it is that they disagree with me? Are there other more viable ways of seeing this? Does this belief stand the test of time? Is there an agenda at work here? A political agenda? A financial agenda? Does this truth make me a better person? That's a good one. Does this make me a better person? Does this truth make the world a better place? Now, here's a number of them that go together. Does this really make sense? Is it likely? Is it likely that there's a cabal of Democrats who are selling children into prostitution and eating kids? Is that really likely? The more unlikely something is, the more skeptical you should be. People make outrageous statements because those are the kinds of statements that get attention in the news and on social media. The more outrageous you are, the more likes and looks you're going to get. Doesn't make it true, it just makes it outrageous. Outrageous statements are also more likely to be passed on to others. And pretty soon, if you start seeing this outrageous statement 40, 50, 60 times on social media, you start to, well, maybe there's truth to it. A lot of people are passing along. It's just outrageous. It's not true. Is this truth hurtful to others? If so, you owe it to those people and you owe it to yourself to verify the statement before you pass it along. Is the statement based on facts? And how do you know? What's the source of the facts? Is the source trustworthy? Where did the source get information? Trace the facts back to their origin to confirm their validity. Look, if someone is promoting something and they do it in secret, like QAnon, nobody knows who QAnon is. If the person is doing this in secret, that's suspect. Because if this person really believed this stuff, that person would come right out and say, this is who I am, this is what I believe, and let me verify it for you. But the fact that they're hiding in the shadows tells you that this thing isn't true. If the statement isn't based on facts, then the speaker or the writer is lying to you and asking you to trust them. And should you? Do you have a basis for that trust? Is there any reason why the speaker or writer would want to deceive you? Does this truth align with the Bible and with the gospel of Jesus? If I remove all of the emotionally charged words from this statement or this truth, does it still make sense? And finally, are the emotions that are stirred up in me by this thing, this truth, this statement, are they healthy or are they destructive? Those are the kinds of things we need to be thinking about when we ask the question, what is true, what is false? So we're committed to following the way, the truth, and the life. And the way that Jesus brings truth to us is through grace. It's grace, God's grace, that opens us up to truth. So I want to close this out with a true story. This is a story about a man named Daryl Davis. Daryl Davis is a fairly well-known musician, and he has played with some of the biggies throughout the years, keyboard player. In the 1960s, Daryl was 10 years old. And in his town, they were having a parade, And his scout troop was marching in the parade, and he was given the honor of carrying the flag for his scout troop. This is the 1960s. He was the only black child in his scout troop, one of the few black people in the entire village. He's carrying this flag, proud as can be, when as he's walking down the streets, adults started throwing things at him, bottles, cans, and he had no idea why. And for the first time in his life after the parade, and he told his parents what was happening, they had to sit him down and have the racism talk with him. He'd never heard of such a thing before. And the question that he asked as a 10-year-old was, how can they hate me when they don't even know me? And he lived with that question for many, many years. So many, many years later, he is playing keyboard in a band in a country western bar. And after the show, a white man came up to him and said he was astonished to see a black man playing keyboard like Jerry Lee Lewis. Jerry Lee Lewis is sort of a honky-tonk white country western artist. And Daryl Davis said to him, well, I happen to be really good friends with Jerry Lee Lewis, and he will tell you point blank that his playing style was influenced by black musicians. Black musicians weren't influenced by him. He was influenced by them. So the white man was really intrigued with that, and he invited Daryl to sit down and have a drink. And as they're sitting down at this bar, Daryl across from a white man, in a bar that's mainly white people, country western bar, the white man said that he had never shared a drink with a black man before. And then he said he was a member of the KKK. So imagine Daryl sitting in that environment across the table from a member of the KKK. He's surrounded by all kinds of white people in a country western bar, so every stereotype you can think of. And Daryl, rather than being frightened, laughs out loud, a deep belly laugh. And then he asks the question he asked when he was a 10-year-old boy, finally had a chance to ask the question and said, how can you hate me when you don't even know me? Well, this KKK man was really intrigued with Daryl, and the two of them became friends. And over the course of their friendship, because Daryl was willing to listen to him, not argue with him, but listen to him, and listen to the man's story, and then share his own story, that man left the Ku Klux Klan. Now, he was one of those guys who was in that vicious loop. He was born into a family that believed that black people were inferior. He was fed that in his bubble over and over again. Black people are taking away our jobs, they're taking away our freedoms. He just lived in that cycle over and over again. He never took the time to step out of it and ask the questions, is that really true? And because Daryl was willing to listen to him, and then was willing to offer some counter truths, that man was able to step out of the loop, rethink, and come to a new conclusion, a conclusion of truth that set him free. He left the KKK. And over the years, Daryl has had conversations with many men like that, has become friends with many of them. And over 200 people have left the KKK because Daryl's been willing, in grace, to help them see the truth. That's what Jesus does for us. He comes to us with grace. He opens up our hearts. He gives us this gift of curiosity. He gives us the gift of our minds. He gives us the gift of hunger for truth. And then he gives us these questions that we can ask. He surrounds us with good people so that we can see the truth that will set us free. And so as we move through these days, my encouragement to you is to take off those goggles that sometimes blind us and to put on the glasses of grace and truth, because the truth will set you free. So next Wednesday, we're going to dig a bit deeper on this, and we're going to look at the difference between beliefs and faith. Because what I want to suggest is everything I just said is true for what we believe as well. That we constantly need to be asking questions about what we believe about God. Is what I believe about God true? For example, when I believe that God was angry, is that true? Is that the whole truth? Am I willing to be curious enough to dig deeper into my beliefs and challenge them and listen to other people and say, do I have the whole thing here? Or is there more for me to know? Or are there some things I believe about God right now that really aren't all that true? And we're talking about the difference between belief and faith, because when we start challenging our beliefs a little bit, we can feel a little bit destabilized, and how faith holds us in the midst of all that. All right, tomorrow night, Tony and Lisa will be with you on this Facebook page at 6 o'clock, bringing you some music. Saturday night, 5 o'clock on Facebook and YouTube. We're going to look at the fantastical story from Genesis chapter 1 of the creation, and how is it possible to have 3 days in a row, 24-hour period with no sun and moon? And what's that story really about? We have worship together in-house on Sunday at 9 o'clock and at 10:30, boldrecklessgrace.org/worship to RSVP. Right now, we're still doing RSVPs to make sure we stay socially distanced. We're still asking you to wear your masks. COVID hasn't gone anywhere yet. We're getting closer, but it's still here. We want to make sure we protect each other. boldrecklessgrace.org/worship. You can RSVP Sunday at 9 or 10:30. We would love to have you in the building if you're ready to come. Otherwise, we'll see you online. Thanks for joining me. If this was helpful for you, share it on your Facebook page. Have a great night. God's peace to you.